Sometimes, letting go seems like the easiest thing to do. But think about this, you've invested so much of your time and energy into another person, and possibly little ones, you've made a solemn promise, and you still know there's love, even if it's hiding underneath the surface. This video will tell you how to save a marriage and avoid divorce, even if you're the only one trying. Here is the steps. Step 1. Finding out what went wrong. Step 2. Putting the pieces back together. Step 3. Practical things that you can do right away. Step 1. Finding out what went wrong. 1. Make an effort to figure out what went wrong. You can't move forward if you don't know what's keeping you back. Most relationships, and people, suffer from a few flaws, and perhaps those flaws are getting in the way of a healthy relationship. Your job is to take a long, hard look at what you think went wrong. Here are just a few: growing incompatibility, infidelity, lack of communication, death of a loved one, money, sex. 2. Figure out if what went wrong is something fixable. It's a perfectly natural response to try to save your sinking ship, but what if the ship is so tattered that it isn't worth saving? No one can make this decision for you, but know that certain flaws in people or relationships might not be worth trying to save. 3. Open communication with your spouse. Get information from them about how they think the relationship can be improved. When bringing up this difficult conversation with your spouse, remember a few things. Don't be accusatory. Count to 3 before you answer. 4. Test the waters for change. Is your spouse absolutely unwilling to bend? If so, it might be hard to create the change you want to see in your relationship. If you're unsure, test the waters to see if your spouse seems willing to make the necessary changes to save the relationship. Again, it's hard to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. Step 2. Putting the pieces back together. 1. Create a safe space for this communication. A lot of the time, a marriage begins to fall apart because both parties forget to communicate, feel unsafe or embarrassed communicating, or think they're communicating when they're actually not. 2. Don't use threats as a bargaining chip. Often, threats are bandied about a failing marriage like horseshoes on the 4th of July. Threats don't mean you're a bad person, they just mean that you've learned a bad habit, one you should unlearn. The problem with threats is that they encourage people to do the right things for the wrong reasons. Your spouse shouldn't want to save the marriage because you're threatening to leave them. Your spouse should want to save the marriage because they absolutely, deeply love you. 3. Say what you do and do what you say, and expect the same from your spouse. A relationship is all about trust. Trust is gained when expectations are met, and when actions are followed through on. If you say you're going to do something, do it. A failure to follow through on your words causes your spouse to believe that your words aren't what you say they are. This leads to a breakdown in trust. 4. Leave time for some time apart. Falling back into love all over again is great, but sometimes that personal independence that we all yearn for gets lost along the way. Often, what we need is an hour or 2 of alone time to engage ourselves in something that we absolutely love, whether it's gardening, fixing cars, or reading books. If one person in the marriage feels smothered, they're going to take that displease out on their spouse, and it's unlikely to lead to happiness. During your time of reconciliation, set aside time to do things you both love, to recharge, and most important, to reflect. Step 3. Practical things that you can do right away. 1. Rededicate your commitment by making it tangible. A marriage is also about commitment, A commitment that puts other people ahead of oneself. If you feel like rededicating your commitment to your marriage, consider making it physical or tangible so that your spouse can see that commitment. Gift your spouse a ring, picture, flower or a plant, something growing, meal, work of art, made by you. 2. Switch up the environment. A vacation can be a pretty poor litmus test of whether the relationship is going to succeed. A vacation is all play and no work. Going back to the familiar routine of work, family upkeep, and chores can cause the fairy tale ending to end very quickly. 3. Go on date nights again. A loving marriage is one in which both partners still enjoy the thought of being with one another all alone. Some couples try to engineer the date night every week, others every couple of weeks. At the very least, try to plan a date night with just you and your spouse once a month. This should help reignite your passion for one another, as well as eliminating some of the more tedious responsibilities of everyday life.